Oh man. Oh man. Okay. I don't know how to start this video. You read the title, right? You've seen it already clearly. Let me just turn this down right here because it's a little bit bright. You know what I'm gonna be talking about. Game of Thrones episode 9. Oh my god. This is my first Game of Thrones video in this channel, by the way. But and this is not really an overview, this is not really a review like I'm used to doing for my anime manga, but holy crap, I cannot just leave this the way it is. Okay, 1 minute has passed, I need to calm myself down. The episode just finished, just aired on HBO, The Battle of the Bastards, Bastard Bowl 2016. Ramsay Snow versus Jon Snow. Oh my god. Okay, first let me start off by saying that I'm not the biggest Daenerys fan, so seeing her in this episode, I must admit, kind of changed my heart a little bit because we did get a lot of preparation, like her kind of just overstepping a lot of her obstacles just by her name and just by her cocky attitude, which is something that I'm not too crazy up in a character who just kind of gets what he or she wants, whenever that he or she wishes. Yes, she's been through some shit, but just the way she gets shit done is not really to my liking. However, I am happy to see that the preparation that was going on, like her getting kidnapped by the Dothraki and then convincing them eventually. Um, on the one side, we get a certain delay, which is not too bad because the delay gives Drogon time to grow. So by the time that this episode happened, Drogon is like this massive thing, and that's one of the things that, of course, happens in this episode. That is, Drogon just being a badass, showing off his size to these three slave kings, so to say, these three slavers. So, and just like you knew, like if you're a cinematographer, if you are a videographer, if you love video making or movies, when you saw her and her squad just standing in front of that huge building in the background, you knew something was gonna pop up on it. And I was thinking like Drogon is gonna show up any second. He did. He looked great. I personally love dragons like crazy, so seeing the dragon is always hype for me. And I must admit, like the preparation that we got throughout the series for her, building up to her conquering these places, and just how she was able to overthrow the harpies by just bringing the Dothraki in there as well, and having like I forgot his name, but the gentleman who with the beard who follows her around as well, the cooler guy, the young guy, him just leading the Dothraki army in a way, like being in the head was a crazy thing to do. The two minor dragons bursting out and flaming down the boats, them just beasting on them, and I just absolutely love how Grey Worm basically just said like, all right, like one of you has to die. Our queen said that one of you has to die. So who shall it be? And like those two assholes from the side, like they push the middle one in there, and they're like he'll die. Like he's not even royal blood. Like he's not even one of us. And when he just goes to his knees, accepts his death, like just Grey Worm like a beast, just grabbing the knife and slashing both throats. Oh wow, that was a good scene. I like Daenerys a lot. I like Daenerys' story here a lot, especially when Theon came in with Yara, and they were speaking one on one, and it was kind of this flirty atmosphere as well between the two. And Daenerys seemed to kind of like herself a little bit there. She started to get a little bit open minded on that side, and I love when and series and storytelling. I love when they bring back elements of characters that share similarities to one another, like Yara bringing up the fact that they both had asshole fathers, and also that little bit of a connection between both of them wanting to be on top, both of them wanting to be leaders, but the fact that men haven't been taking them too seriously. It's kind of like a really good thing, and I love that comparison between the two, and that's why it's also important that Yara was the one to really be ahead of this fleet, and Tion kind of being like that. It's like being that brother who's following her but supporting her. So the nurses part all done and well. Now let's get into Bastard Bowl. Bastard Bowl 2016. I had to support. I had to support the direwolves. I had to support the Starks. And this episode could have gone a lot of different ways. I'll be honest with you. The storytelling could have ended in a completely different manner. Now, cinematography on top. Storytelling felt a little bit easy at the start. I could easily say that this is one of my favorite episodes so far of Game of Thrones, because the story went on slowly a little bit at first, but it was all preparation for what was to come. Now, you can say all you want about Ramsay Snow, but you gotta admit it that the strategy, despite sacrificing a lot of men, the strategy that they put up was fucking badass. He's a horrible ass. Like, I do not support him at all, but the strategy behind it, he could have won if the Lords of the Vale if the Lord of the Vale and Peter Baelish did not come with Sansa, then Jon Snow would have died on that battlefield. The Red Queen, however, in the beginning of the episode, and I know I'm flip-flopping a little bit. I apologize for that, but towards the beginning of the episode, when the preparation was going on, we noticed a couple of things. First of all, what I was going into, that is the Red Witch. So she brings up a very, very, very interesting line, and my assumption is that it was meant to throw the viewers off, to make sure that we did not see the outcome coming. Because as a viewer, you want Jon Snow to succeed. You don't. They've prepared Ramsay as a complete asshole from the moment that he showed up. And so the show's purpose was kind of to make you root for Jon Snow, and we know that Game of Thrones, that the good guys don't always win. So that line that Melisandre brought up, like, maybe you were brought back by the Lord to die a second time. Maybe he just needed you a little bit longer just to carry out at least this fight, because maybe there were bigger plans for something else. Bringing that line into this episode was very interesting, because indeed, yes, if the story wasn't heading the way it seems to be going, to where it seems to be going, then Jon Snow could have died. And it would have been an interesting take, to be honest. I bet a lot of fans would have been pissed off. But man, oh man, there's just so much that I could talk about in this episode. The fight scene, absolutely wonderful. Like, we knew that the Stark boy was gonna fucking he was gonna bite the dust. We knew it. The way, that's just that fucked up typical Ramsay thing to say, like, I'll let you can run, and if you can make it to your brother alive, then that's good, that's for you, but you better run. And him just running and shooting arrows, and Ramsay, like, of course he was gonna die, and of course it had to be at the very last minute, right before Jon could get to him. And that's a little bit of the fault that I'm seeing now in Jon's character, and that is him letting this stuff get to him really personal. And I understand you as a person, if you had a brother or a sister, you do not want them to die. You do not want them to suffer. You do not want to see them die in front of you. And especially have someone kill them in front of you. And I can understand Jon Snow getting this very emotional aspect to his character, especially in this episode with Sansa and with his brother. I keep forgetting his name because he hasn't played that big of a role so far. My apologies for that as well. But he was letting a lot of Ramsay's mind games playing into him, and as we've seen towards the next week episode, like, there is some trouble there between Sansa and Jon Snow. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the future Sansa would die for some reason. Now, I'm not a book reader. I'm just putting that out there, but it's very, in my opinion, it's possible either for shock value or for a certain purpose that needs to happen. She, there's this guy, I think Charlie Schneider, I think that's his name. Give me 1 second as I look that up quickly. Come on, I had it here. I apologize for this, people, but we are doing this live. Charlie Schneider, yes, from Awesome Emergency. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. He put some interesting things out there. I think he's the one that brought up the fact. I think that he's the one that brought up the fact that Sansa could be taking on this role of Lady Stoneheart, which for you book readers, you probably are familiar with her. For you show only viewers, I won't spoil that too much, but basically this person, Lady Stoneheart, is basically this person that speaks for the North, and she brings down like everyone who was even involved with betraying the Northmen. So it's very like Lady Stoneheart-ish. I mean, her character, the way she was acting, especially after they defeated Ramsay Snow, her attitude and just her smile at that very end of that episode. Now, cinematography, it's really, really important for me to talk about this because I myself love cinematography a lot. I do art projects as well when it comes to film in a different channel. And just that, just that scene after the Stark boy dies and Jon Snow is slowly like he starts going towards Ramsay, his army, and you see like Tormund, you see what's his name again? Shit, like all these names are getting to my head right now. You see Tormund, you see Davos, basically just like, oh shit, he's actually gonna go up there. Like, everyone get ready, follow your leader. And oh my god, that one shot just took it for me. Jon Snow about to get his body pierced by the riders, and it's like this horizontal image of just the floor, Jon Snow over here walking, and you see like the group of horsemen riding towards him, and then out of nowhere the other team just boom, and they just clash. That was a perfect shot of suspense right there. It could have been his death. I'll be honest with you, I don't try to think too much ahead. I do not try to read too much into other blogs. I like reading some spoilers and theories sometimes, but I like letting things surprise me sometimes when it comes to these things. I like to put myself in in the world that they're in. So I like to tell myself at least that there is a possibility that he might die any second now. And him just standing in front of those horses, that was a little bit of a moment of suspension for me as well. It's unfortunate that we didn't get the direwolf ghost fighting in this war. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him at all this episode, if I'm not mistaken, unless he was hiding somewhere in the background, which is an understandable thing because the last thing Jon Snow would want or Sansa would want is for a direwolf, one of the symbols of their banner of their house, to just get killed all of a sudden. However, there is this one moment at the end when Ramsay is like tied up and like his dogs are gonna eat him. I was kind of hoping that it would have been Ghost. It would have been, I know this is overthinking it, but I just imagine how cool it would have been if like the dogs started walking out and all of a sudden just Ghost comes out with them and like he's their leader now. Like he becomes a leader of these dogs. Maybe we'll get that eventually. Maybe. I mean, those dogs are still there, and maybe they'll become loyal to Jon Snow now. But I kind of wish that Snow had a little bit of more of a role in here. we can clearly see that there's some trouble here. They may have won this battle, but the war has still not yet been won. The White Walkers are still out there. Westeros, Cersei is still alive. As long as Cersei's still alive, there's going to be a war going on. The Dornish, the Sand Snakes, they took over Dorne, and they'll most likely prepare for a war as well. We have Daenerys, who now has fleets, and I mean, we'll see. One thing that I do want to, now that I'm talking a little bit about Daenerys, one thing that I also do want to bring up is the fact that we have 3 dragons, right? We have Drogon, and we have the 2 others' names who I keep forgetting. I suck with remembering names. My apologies for that. But I find it very interesting that the dragons grow just like fishes. If you put, for example, koi fishes in an aquarium, if I'm not mistaken, from having had a ton of koi fishes myself, if you put koi fishes in an aquarium, they can grow to a certain length only. However, if you place them outside in a pond where they have more space, then they have room to grow and feed themselves and become bigger. And that's kind of that's pretty much a little bit of what happened with the dragons, if I'm not mistaken. They were locked up, so the 2 dragons that were locked up grew a little bit slower compared to Drogon, who had all the time in the world to go outside, eat whatever the fuck he wanted, fly, have room to grow. Kind of like the recent reports with alligators, for example. That, I don't know if you guys saw, but there are multiple videos of just big ass alligators out there in the wild who grow to humongous sizes. And I love how the story has moved to the point where Drogon is the biggest dragon of them all, and the 2 dragons are still pretty big, still like something to be feared, but like they're like kind of like his right hand and left hand of the dragon. Now, that's pretty much as much as fanboying as I will do for this Game of Thrones video. I'm not sure if I will do a season finale next week. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about Game of Thrones next week, seeing how it's a season finale and all, but wow, next week, the preview that was shown. Now, if you don't want to get spoiled on previews, if you're the type of person that doesn't like hearing about the previews, then you may want to cut off right here. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button down below, and tell me what you thought about this episode. Hit the subscribe button. Well, I'm not gonna do too much Game of Thrones shit anyway, but like, if you just wanna help out, subscribe please. But anyway, next week's episode, I'm gonna start talking in 3, 2, 1. We're good. Next week's episode revolves around a marriage, I think, because it's a certain celebration with the Lannisters and the Freys. Now, there is this thing that I have been spoiled on from the books about a certain baker. If you are not a book reader, or you probably have been already spoiled on this, then if you are not a book reader and do not want to get spoiled on this, and you belong to the people that I spoke to earlier, just cut off the video right now. But the thing, so we'll most likely get next week. We'll most likely get like the boys served as pies, right? I mean, it was implied from what I understand that the boys were turned into pie and then given to the Lord Frey. Oh man, I'm curious to see how that's gonna go. We get a little bit of a preview of Tommen, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just pop the website back up, so that we get the preview for next week. Battle 9, episode 10 preview right here. So I'm watching this a little bit live. So we get Tommen right here. We get, oh yes, so Marjorie's brother is gonna confess. It's a little bit of a not really live reaction. We get the Frey and the Lannister celebration. We get Sansa that's going to be talking to Littlefinger about a certain thing. Littlefinger wants, of course, to be with her because he couldn't be with her mother, Lady Stark. And Melisandre is going to come in conflict with Davos is going to come in conflict with Melisandre. He found the little wooden deer, and he knows that she got sacrificed. I'm sure that there's gonna be a huge conflict between them. And I'm seeing something about Bran, I'm guessing. Let me see just quickly right here. I don't have my audio on right here, so I can't tell you much. But Bran is going to play a certain role next week. So we have a couple of things that's going to happen next week for the series, for the season finale at least, which is going to be hype. Episode 9 usually is an episode that's filled with a lot of deaths, so it was a little bit scary to know who might have died this episode. Did anyone die this episode 9? Episode 9s of every season lately have been a lot of deaths, so did anyone important really die? And also, last thing, huge shout out to the little girl who represented the Mormont family. Like her when she was just in front of like Ramsay, just not giving a single fuck. Anyway, my name is ELPOV. I will try to bring up a next Game of Thrones talking review next week. Maybe look back at season 5, at season 6 one more time. My name is ELPOV. I would greatly appreciate it if you hit that like button. If you want to talk down spoilers, please put spoiler tags down there. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear what you want to hear about. And I'm guessing that for the thumbnail I'll probably use the art of a certain DeviantArt artist that I found recently online that makes a ton of beautiful Game of Thrones content. I will also leave his DeviantArt profile in the link down below so you can check it out because he has a lot of nice shit. My name is ELPOV and have a good week. Bye.